The Variths, another powerful species, had been watching the Yor's failure from the safety of their own ships. They scoffed at the Yor's retreat. The Variths were known for their intelligence and their ability to understand technology better than any other species. They believed that Earth's primitive technology could never stand up to their own. "Let's show them how it's done," the Varith commander said, eager to prove their superiority. The Varith fleet entered human space with advanced weapons, shields, and high-tech vessels. They thought that with their superior technology, they would easily crush any human resistance. But they didn't realize that humans were experts at using their own environment. Earth's atmosphere, the oceans, the land, it was all part of the trap that had been set for them. The Varith's ships were powerful, yes, but humans had mastered the art of surprise. They used old communication systems to confuse the Varith fleet, sending them false signals. They hacked into the Varith's technology, causing their weapons to malfunction. The Varith fleet found itself trapped in a web of human ingenuity, just as the Yor had been. The Varith fleet had to retreat as well, humiliated and damaged. Once again, humans had shown that they were not the weak, primitive species everyone had assumed them to be. But still, the galaxy's leaders refused to believe it. They couldn't understand what had happened. How could a species with such outdated technology and limited resources defeat two of the most powerful fleets in the galaxy? That's when the Zernak decided to take their turn. The Zernak were a mysterious species, capable of manipulating energy and bending light itself. They had studied the Yor's and Varith's mistakes closely, and they believed they could succeed where the others had failed. Their ships were cloaked, their weapons could slice through almost any defense. They believed they were unstoppable. But when they entered human space, they were not met with overwhelming force. Instead, they found themselves stuck in a dark, cold void. The Zernak ship's sensors went haywire, their energy shields flickered, and their cloaking technology was useless. They couldn't see the humans, and the humans couldn't see them, but the humans could hear them. Earth's people had long mastered the ability to track and detect unusual energy readings, and that's exactly what the Zernak had been broadcasting. With their cloaking systems failing, the Zernak were easy prey for Earth's cleverest minds. In a matter of hours, the Zernak fleet was completely neutralized. It was then that the Galaxy's Council began to realize their mistake. They had underestimated humans in a way they never should have. Humans didn't fight with advanced technology or massive warships. They didn't need to. They fought with something far more dangerous: creativity, adaptability, and an unyielding spirit. They turned their weaknesses into strengths and their simple ideas into powerful weapons. The galaxy's biggest mistake had been underestimating humanity. They had believed that the humans were no match for the great powers of the galaxy, but now they understood. Humans were not just survivors, they were thinkers, innovators, and strategists. And now, no one in the galaxy would dare to underestimate them again. The galaxy was full of wonders and dangers. For eons, its many species had explored the stars, building powerful empires and forging alliances. Some species had achieved near godlike control over technology, while others ruled entire star systems with their military might. And yet, despite their advanced civilizations, one thing was universally true: no one feared the humans. The people of Earth were considered small, primitive, and weak. Their planet was a speck in the vastness of space. Their technology was nothing compared to the mighty warships of the Zernak or the advanced artificial intelligence of the Varith. The galaxy's great powers saw no reason to worry about the humans. They were just another insignificant species left behind in the shadow of greater civilizations. But that belief was about to shatter. It all started when the Rithorians, a race known for their brutal conquest of planets, decided to expand their empire into human space. The Rithorians were famous for their warships, their massive weapons, and their unyielding desire for power. They believed the humans were an easy target, weak, unprepared, and ripe for conquest. They could take human resources, claim Earth's riches, and move on to the next system without any resistance. It was a quiet day at the Galactic Trade Station, a hub where different alien species came to do business. Ships of all sizes filled the docking bays, their engines humming softly as traders and diplomats from across the galaxy went about their work. Among them was a particular alien, tall, with gray skin and deep red eyes. His name was Zarok, and he was the envoy of the Exarthon Empire. Zarok's people were known for their strength, their advanced technology, and their ability to conquer and control. Yet today, Zarok's face was marked with worry, and he had a warning for anyone who would listen. As the council of alien leaders gathered in the main hall of the station, Zarok stood before them, his voice steady but heavy with fear. "I have traveled far, and I've seen many things," he began, his eyes scanning the room. "But there is one thing I beg you to understand. Do not, under any circumstances, enter human space. It is a terrible idea. It will be your downfall." The room fell silent. The leaders exchanged confused glances. Humans? The simple, primitive species from Earth? They had never been a concern for the galaxy's more powerful races. But Zarok was serious. He could see the doubt in their eyes, but he wasn't here to waste time. He knew the consequences of underestimating humans all too well. "I speak from experience," Zarok continued, his voice grim. "A year ago, the Exarthon Empire sent a fleet to claim a small human colony on the outer edges of their space. It seemed like an easy victory. We had the numbers, the technology, and the strength. What we didn't have was an understanding of how humans fight." Zarok paused, his mind returning to that fateful battle. The memory still haunted him. It had been a disaster. The human colony, much smaller than Axarok had expected, had put up a fight unlike any the Exarthon Empire had ever seen. Instead of relying on advanced weapons or ships, the humans used their environment, their creativity, and their determination in ways that no one could have predicted. "They used everything to their advantage," Zarok said. "They didn't fight like anyone else. Their ships, old and outdated, somehow turned the tides against us. They launched surprise attacks from unexpected angles. They lured our fleet into asteroid fields, trapping us with their understanding of the terrain. We couldn't track their movements because they used simple tactics like jamming our communications and faking their signals." The council listened intently now, the weight of Zarok's words sinking in. One of the alien leaders, a being from the planet Zorath, raised his hand. "But surely, with your advanced technology, you could have wiped them out easily?" Zarok's red eyes flashed with anger. "That's the mistake we made. We thought we could crush them with brute force, but humans don't fight with brute force. They fight with cunning. They use what they have, no matter how little it may seem. And that's why we lost." Another leader, a tall insectoid from the planet Harkon, spoke up. "But that was one battle. Surely you can't suggest that all humans are capable of such unpredictable tactics?" Zarok shook his head, his voice lowering. "It's not just one battle. We've tried to invade them several times, and each time we've failed. Humans don't just fight, they adapt. They learn from their mistakes. When we tried to bombard their cities with weapons, they used underground tunnels to survive. When we tried to block their communications, they created their own network of radios. No matter what we do, they always find a way to survive." The room fell into uneasy silence. The council had always believed that humans were an insignificant species, not worth much attention. But Zarok was not the only one who had learned the hard way. Reports from other species told similar stories. The humans' ability to fight back against overwhelming odds was becoming a legend. Zarok took a deep breath and continued, his voice soft but filled with urgency. "I'm not telling you this because I want to frighten you. I'm telling you this because I want you to understand, if you enter human space, you are walking into a trap. A trap set by a species that has learned how to fight and survive like no other. And believe me, if you underestimate them, you will pay the price." The council members exchanged uneasy looks. Some of them had come to this meeting expecting to hear about opportunities for expansion, about how they could conquer new worlds and claim new resources. But now, they were faced with a different reality. Could they really ignore Zarok's warning? Before anyone could speak, Zarok turned to leave. His mission was complete. He had done his part. "I've said what I needed to say," he said, his voice cold now. "Do with this information what you will. But if you decide to ignore it, don't say I didn't warn you." As Eric walked out of the room, the council sat in stunned silence. The idea of entering human space seemed almost laughable before. But now, it felt like a dangerous game. They had always thought of humans as weak, but now they knew better. Humanity was not to be underestimated. Sarok's warning echoed in their minds. The galaxy had many powerful species, many advanced technologies. But there was something uniquely dangerous about humans. They were survivors. And if you dared to cross them, you would learn the hard way just how terrifying that could be. The galaxy was vast, filled with stars, planets, and species that were as different from each other as night and day. Some races were ancient, their knowledge and technology unmatched by any others. Some were peaceful, others were conquerors. But there was one species that had always puzzled the Galactic Council. They were called humans. To most, they were seen as a simple, insignificant race. Their home planet, Earth, was nothing more than a tiny speck in the galaxy, with a history of war and struggle. Yet, despite this, humans had a hidden strength, a power that no one truly understood until it was too late. It was a quiet day at the Galactic Council meeting. Representatives from various species gathered to discuss matters of trade, security, and peace. But today was different. Today, a new report had been brought to the table. It came from a ship that had just returned from the edge of human space, a ship that had barely escaped with its life. The captain of the ship, a Zorathian named Queller, stood before the council, his face pale with fear. "We went to human space thinking it would be an easy mission," Queller began. "We thought we could simply explore, take some resources, and leave. But we were wrong. Very wrong." The council was quiet, listening carefully. The Zorathians were a powerful race, known for their advanced technology and military might. If they had struggled in human space, it was worth paying attention to. "We entered their space thinking they were primitive," Queller continued. "We saw their old ships, their outdated weapons, and we thought we could easily overpower them. But what we didn't know was that humans had something far more dangerous than weapons. They had knowledge. Knowledge of their environment, of their planet, and of the universe in ways we couldn't understand." One of the council members, a tall insectoid from the planet Harkon, interrupted. "You mean to tell us that humans defeated you with mere knowledge?" "How could that be?" Queller nodded slowly. "We didn't understand their technology at first. They don't have the most advanced ships or weapons. They don't have the strongest armies. But what they have is something much more dangerous: an ability to adapt. They know how to use what they have to its fullest potential. And they know how to turn anything into a weapon." The council members exchanged puzzled glances. Could it really be true? Could humans, with their primitive technology, have defeated the mighty Zorathians? Queller's next words confirmed their worst fears. "They used their environment against us," Queller said, his voice trembling. "We didn't expect it. Their ships were old, but they used the gravity of their moon to hide from us. They knew their planet so well that they could launch surprise attacks from places we didn't even know existed. When we tried to track their ships, they used simple jamming devices to confuse us. And when we tried to block their communications, they created their own hidden networks. They were always one step ahead of us, and before we knew it, we were trapped." Another member of the council, a sleek, silvery-skinned being from the planet Varuna, spoke up. "But how could they have known so much about you? You must have had the upper hand, at least in terms of technology." Queller's eyes darkened. "That's the part we never expected. Humans didn't fight with the same rules as everyone else. They didn't need the most advanced weapons, they used what they had, and they used it with incredible precision. We sent our fleets, thinking they would bow to our strength. But instead, we walked right into a trap." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. "The humans have something we don't understand. They have an ancient knowledge, a way of thinking that has been passed down through generations. And they've learned to harness it in ways that are beyond our comprehension." The council members sat in stunned silence. They had always thought of humans as weak. They were a species of war and chaos, but they had never been a real threat. Or so they had thought. "I've seen it for myself," Queller continued. "I've seen humans create weapons from nothing, simple tools turned into traps, simple ideas turned into strategies that completely disrupted our plans. They don't fight like we do. They fight with ingenuity, and that makes them more dangerous than anything we've ever faced. One of the other council members, a heavily armored being from the planet Rethos, spoke up. So what do you suggest? Should we simply avoid human space altogether? Queller nodded, his face grim. Yes. Do not underestimate them. Do not think you can simply conquer their planets or take their resources. Humans will fight back, and they will fight harder than any species you've ever faced. They are not just a threat, they are the galaxy's greatest defense. And you do not want to be on their bad side. The room was quiet as the council digested what they had just heard. For years, humans had been considered weak, their place in the galaxy unimportant. But now, after hearing Queller's warning, they realized how wrong they had been. Humanity had a hidden power, a strength that could not be measured by technology or military might. It was a power that came from their ability to adapt, to learn, and to survive against all odds. The Council knew that from this moment forward, human space would be off limits. No one would dare enter their territory again. Humanity had shown the galaxy that they were far more than what anyone had ever imagined. And now, they would be respected, not for their weapons or their ships, but for the power of their mind and spirit. The galaxy was filled with powerful civilizations, each more advanced than the last. These species had conquered stars, developed unimaginable technologies, and built vast empires. For centuries, they believed that they were the true rulers of the universe. There was one species, however, that had always been ignored by the galaxy's great powers, humans. Their home planet, Earth, was a small, insignificant rock on the edge of the galaxy. It had been through wars, disasters, and struggles. Yet, the galaxy's leaders saw no reason to fear humans. They were primitive, weak, and unaware of the vast powers that surrounded them. But that would soon change. The decision to enter human space was made quickly. A coalition of galactic powers, including the mighty Ihor, the calculating Veriths, and the enigmatic Zernak, all agreed that human space would be the next target for expansion. It was uncharted territory, and they believed that Earth's people were no threat. It was going to be a simple mission: conquer a small planet, take its resources, and move on to the next. But they were wrong. The first fleet to enter human space was the Yor, known for their massive warships and advanced weapons. Confident in their strength, they cruised into Earth's orbit without a second thought. They expected an easy victory. What they did not expect was the sudden silence from their communication channels. At first, they thought it was a technical issue, a malfunction in their systems. But as the minutes passed, things grew stranger. The Yor fleet tried to send a signal to their command ship, but no one could hear them. It wasn't long before they realized that their entire fleet was cut off from the outside world. All attempts to re-establish contact failed. What's happening? One of the officers demanded, staring at the darkened screens. Why can't we communicate? And then, without warning, the attack began. It wasn't the kind of attack the Yor had been expecting. There were no massive human ships, no advanced weapons, only small, old fighter crafts. But the tactics they used were nothing like anything the Ihor had ever seen. The tiny ships darted through asteroid fields, using the space rocks as cover. The Yor fleet couldn't track them. They couldn't predict where the next attack would come from. It was like fighting against ghosts. The Yor fleet was forced to retreat in confusion. In less than 24 hours, the mission to conquer Earth had turned into a nightmare. The Yor had underestimated humans. They didn't know that Earth's people had a unique kind of resilience, one that made them harder to defeat than any other species in the galaxy. But what made them even more dangerous was their ability to survive against overwhelming odds. As the Rethorian fleet entered human space, they were confident. They launched their attack on Earth's defenses, expecting to find nothing but outdated weapons and poorly trained soldiers. But what they found was something completely different. At first, everything seemed normal. The humans didn't immediately retaliate. They didn't launch massive counterattacks or deploy enormous fleets to stop the invasion. In fact, the Rethorians were able to approach Earth's atmosphere without resistance. But as they drew closer, something strange began to happen. Their ships started to malfunction. Weapon systems shut down unexpectedly. Navigation systems failed. The Rithorians tried to fix the issues, but no matter what they did, their technology continued to break down. "What's happening?" one of the Rithorian commanders asked, his voice filled with confusion and frustration. "We can't track their signals," another officer replied. "Our systems are being jammed." The commander was furious. "This is impossible. The humans don't have the technology to disrupt our fleet like this." But they did. As the Rithorian fleet tried to push forward, the humans turned the tables in ways no one expected. Earth's defenses weren't made of massive weapons or powerful ships. They didn't need to be. Instead, the humans used something far more dangerous: their ability to adapt. They had an understanding of their own world, Earth, that no other species could match. And that was the key to their defense. The Rithorians had underestimated human ingenuity. They believed that the humans were stuck in the past, but in reality, humans had adapted their old technologies in ways that no one had ever imagined. They used their planet's natural resources to create weapons and tools that worked with the environment, tools that were simple yet effective. For example, humans had mastered the art of electronic warfare. They sent out small, untraceable drones that interfered with the Rithorian fleet's systems, causing their weapons to malfunction and their shields to fail. The Rithorian ships were strong, but they were nothing compared to the clever tactics humans used. The Rithorian commander realized too late that his fleet was being hunted, not by overwhelming force, but by human brains and their ability to think outside the box. The Rithorian fleet was slowly being picked off, one ship at a time. And the humans weren't done yet. Earth's defense systems, though primitive by galactic standards, were perfectly suited to fighting off the Rithorian invaders. Earth's atmosphere was dense and unpredictable, and the Rithorians had no experience navigating it. As the invaders tried to fire their weapons at human cities, they found themselves outmatched in every way. The final blow came when the Rithorians tried to deploy a massive weapon, a planet-destroying bomb. But the humans had already anticipated this. Using their knowledge of Earth's magnetic field, they launched a countermeasure that rendered the bomb useless before it could even activate. By the end of the battle, the Rithorian fleet was broken. Only a few ships managed to escape, but their commanders were humiliated. They had come to Earth expecting an easy victory, and instead they were met with a force unlike any they had ever encountered. The humans had used their knowledge of their own planet and their creativity to defeat an enemy far stronger than themselves. The truth was clear now. Humanity's power lay in its ability to adapt, to use whatever they had, however limited, to overcome even the greatest threats. The Rithorians learned the hard way that humans were not just survivors, they were strategists. They could turn the simplest tools into powerful weapons and use their environment in ways that no other species could comprehend. Back at the Galactic Council, the news of the defeat spread quickly. The leaders of the galaxy were stunned. How could they have been so blind? For centuries, they had believed that humans were no threat, but now they knew the terrifying truth: Earth was not a weak planet. It was a planet of thinkers, of warriors, who fought with their minds instead of just weapons. And that made them more dangerous than anything the galaxy had ever seen. The galaxy's biggest mistake was underestimating the humans. They had dismissed them as weak for too long, but now they would have to face the reality: human space was not to be entered lightly. Humanity had shown the galaxy that strength wasn't always about size or technology. It was about creativity, resilience, and the ability to turn the impossible into the possible. And from that day on, no one would dare to underestimate Earth or its people again.